today? Good. Awesome. I'm so glad you could be here. We have a very special guest. You're going to show him how NACP rocks, right? It's my friend. I actually went to high school with him a long time ago, and we've kind of stayed connected, and he is a real awesome engineer. He's actually what you would call an electrical engineer. He works at a company nearby in Van Nuys called Canoga Park, and he does a lot of cool stuff. I mean, you can already tell, right? Look what he's wearing. Isn't that awesome? So I'm going to hand the stage over to him. Everybody, let's give him a warm welcome. Take it away.
Thank you. So as Mrs. Spector said, my name is Brian Hook, and I'm an engineer. I've been an engineer for since the year 2000, so 16 years now. And engineering, what's engineering? Well, a lot of adults don't even know what engineering is. And the difference between science and engineering, that's even more confusing sometimes. So what's science first? So scientists, they figure out how the world works, right? So you want to figure out, like, well, why do the planets go around the sun, or what's magnetism, or what's electricity? And when scientists, they do some research and they figure out, oh, here's how electricity works, or here's how magnetism works. And then sometimes out of that comes a technology. So what's a technology? Anybody have any idea? Ever heard that word before? Okay. So a technology, this actually a lot of adults get mixed up too. So a technology is something that science figured out how some things work, and then you use that information to make cool stuff. So for example, like science, you might learn about magnetism, and you might learn about electricity, and you put those things together, those pieces of knowledge together, and that lets you make an electric motor. Those two things work together. Now you have an electric motor, and you can use the electric motor to do a lot of different kinds of things. And so the electric motor is a technology. So, you know, what might you want to use an electric motor for? So that's where engineers come in. And so engineers solve problems. So you say, hey, I want to make a radio-controlled car. Anybody ever played with one of those? Yeah? They're fun, huh? So if you want to make a radio-controlled car, well, that's a good use of an electric motor. So you use an electric motor technology to make the radio-controlled car. Or say like a desk fan. So if you want to make a fan that's going to blow air at you, you need to use an electric motor. So how about a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Would you put an electric motor in that? No. So you got to use the right technology. So that's part of what an engineer's job is to know the right technology to apply to a particular problem. So just like you wouldn't use an electric motor to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, so you have to know the right technology to apply. So here's an example. So if you're going to make a door hinge, the part of the door that attaches it to the wall and lets the door open back and forth, right? What kind of technology would you use to make that? Would you make it out of paper? No. No, probably not, right? What about plastic? Would that work? No. It might work, but it probably wouldn't work for very long. Like it would probably wear out kind of quickly. So anybody want to tell me, raise your hand, what would you make a hinge out of? Yeah?
Metal?
That's a good idea, yeah. Very good idea, yep, metal. And what kind of metal? Like, what's like the best metal ever? What's the best metal ever out there? That's a good one. What about gold? Is gold a cool metal? Yeah, like gold's a cool metal, right? But you know what though? Gold's really expensive. And if you're like building a building and you're going to put a lot of doors in it, you're going to spend a lot of money just on gold hinges, right? And you know what else? Gold's actually a really weak metal. So it would fall apart. So yeah, steel is a good idea. That's what you'd want to make a hinge out of. I'll get the questions at the end, okay? So steel's actually a really good idea. Steel's a really good idea because it's a very strong metal. It's not very expensive, and you can make things out of it pretty easily. So that's kind of what engineers do. So I've had 2 engineering jobs. The first engineering job I had, I was making electronics that control electric motors, and those are used in robotics. You guys ever seen the fountains that dance to music, or robots that, there's also like medical devices that help babies breathe. Let's see, what other kinds of things do we make? Lots of different things, lots of different industries. And the new company that I work for is called Technoprops, and that company, they help make movies. So for like visual effects for movies. So when they have the computer generated dinosaurs and all that, we make electronics that helps with that. But one of the really cool things is, for engineering, you don't have to wait until you graduate college to start playing around with this stuff. You don't have to wait until you're out of high school. You don't have to wait until you're in high school to start playing around with this stuff. There are a lot of different resources, a lot of different things out there that you can play with and start learning how to program or start playing around with some electronics. And a lot of it is fairly inexpensive, and a lot of it's free, and you can find it on the internet. And we'll go through some examples of that a little bit later. And I'll share with your teachers too. So there's a lot of things that you can do as a hobby, and I actually started doing that when I was just about your guys' ages, playing around with programming on a computer called a Commodore 64.
I know that.
Yeah, that's old school. So there's a lot of instructional websites that'll tell you, like, hey, somebody made some cool project, and they'll give you like a list of all how to build it, and so you can follow that list of instructions, and you can make one yourself. And then you say, hey, that one's red, but I don't like red. I want mine blue. You know, you can adapt it and change it and make it how you want it. So you can take what they did and take it to the next level. So what I'm going to show you guys, it has nothing to do with my regular day job. It's just my hobby, and this is something that I've always been into Halloween, and so I decided to make a product that would help people who like making Halloween displays make Halloween displays even cooler. And so what I made, I didn't bring in a prop for that. So I made a little electronic board. Actually, I think I can go find it really quickly here. So this, oh, projector went to sleep. So I'll show you this in a second. The projector went to sleep, but so it's a little electronic board, and it helps people make displays on their front lawns for Halloween or Christmas or any other kind of thing that you want to make that's like an animated display. And we'll show you that in a second. But this right here is the electronic board that I built. And so I designed that all at home, and I emailed the plans over to somebody to have it made for me. And so it had nothing to do with my regular job. It's just something that I did as a hobby, and I did at home. So after I made this, I thought, what would be a cool place to show it off? And there's this really cool nerd fest, that's a good thing, and up in the Bay Area called the Maker Faire. And it's where all sorts of people who build stuff in their garage or build stuff as a hobby, they come there and just to kind of a show and tell. And so that's what I brought in today. And so how many people have already seen this?
What?
Okay. And the video? Okay. So here I'll play this. This is my skeleton buddy and his treasure chest. So
Shivery tippers, what have you done? None! You best be ready to behold a great bad thing. There she is. Me beauty, the Medusa DMX animation interface. She controls 8 RC servos, 8 relays, and 8 LEDs. The computer control everything. Yo ho ho, she be mine, all mine. Alas, don't you get too close to me treasure, lest I send you to Davy Jones' locker.
Oh, I know that. I know that.
What's that? What's in the box? So let's see. I think maybe afterwards we can have the kids run through and see what's in there a little bit. I don't know how that would work. So there's what's in the box is actually one of these little boards here. Yeah, you're right. DMX. And let's see, how do we? Yeah, so it's this little electronic board that's inside of the treasure chest, and that's actually what's running everything that you just saw, the lights and the motion and the bouncing up and down and all that. Does anybody want to know how part of it works or any of it works? Which part do you want to know?
I want to know how it moves everything around.
How it moves everything?
Like everything is programmed to move.
How everything's programmed together? Okay. So I can't put it on the projector right now, but there's a program on the computer that these are all the different motions that are programmed to make everything move. So when the pirate moves his head, that's a move on this program right here. When he turns his head, when it changes the lights, all of that. So that's something that I planned out. And I could have him say other things, but it takes a while to get that kind of thing going. But that runs everything. And then my little board, so the computer actually talks to the little board that's in there, and the little board has everything else under its control. So there are little motors in the skull that move him back and forth, and there are air cylinders inside of here that make this pop up and down, and I'll actually show you what that is. But the little motors, so these are little servo motors, and so these normally are used in radio-controlled cars, and so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for the eyes. There's 6 of those inside of that skull. So, you see one? Yes.
How long did it make you? How long have you been making those stuff, and how long have you been done with it?
How long have I been doing this kind of stuff, and how long did this take to make? Or okay, how long have I been doing this kind of thing? The first one that I ever did was probably in like 1995, something like that. So what is that? 20 years. So a long time ago. This one here took me. Actually, I built it fairly quickly. I think it took me maybe a month or something like a month or 2. Yes?
Can you like play it on repeat?
I can play it again. You want to see it again?
Yeah. Encore.
I zoomed this in, so hopefully you'll actually be able to see it moving along here as it's playing the animation too.
Arr, I see ye landowners are looking at me treasure. Look, but touch, nay. Shiver timbers, what have you done? Blind! You best be ready to behold a great grand thing through eyes of sin. Arr, she is, me beauty, the Medusa DMX animation interface. She controls 8 RC servos, 8 relays, and 8 LEDs. The computer controls everything. Yo ho ho, she be mine, all mine. Alas, don't you get too close to the treasure, lest I send you to Davy Jones' locker.
Davy Jones locker just means the bottom of the ocean.
And then it's sneaky.
Yeah, so actually I can show you guys this here too. So here's a little bit closer of a look inside of the skull. So you see that little servo motor that I mentioned before it was hanging. So here you can see inside some of the servos. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's for the eyes. I think the other one for the eyes is underneath over here. And so you're looking down at the top of the skull. And then there's lights, lots of LED lights. You guys have heard of LEDs before? Yeah. Okay. So there's LED lights here, LED lights right there. It's a little bit too bright in here to see those, but and there are LEDs inside of his eyes. His eyes can go different colors. And oh yeah, actually there's one inside of the treasure chest that's attached to a little motor here, another servo, to kind of make the light go back and forth inside. That's this one right here. So here's another one of those servo motors, and I just had the light. I thought it'd be kind of cool, look like there's something going on in there, you know, and so it just have the light kind of move back and forth. And then what makes it pop up and down, that's called an air cylinder. And when you want to have a lot of power in a fairly small amount of space, these are good things to use. You guys seen like a hairspray can, right? Yeah. So it's got compressed air in there. When you push down the button, sprays out, right? So this is the same kind of thing. I have an air compressor back here. Has a tank with a bunch of air compressed inside, and when the air is let into one of these air cylinders, it extends, it opens up like that. Or if you push air into the other side, it goes like that. So inside, so you can actually see inside of this is a cutaway of an air cylinder. So when you push air in there, it pushes this piston down, and that's what you're just seeing. And inside of the treasure chest, you can see there's one right here. This one opens the treasure chest. And then there's another one down here that's aimed down at the table. And this right here just pushes it up off of the table. So that's what makes it jump up and down. So that's about all I got about the pirate. I got some other, let me turn this off. So I brought some other toys too, some things that are a little bit more simple. So I made these goggles. They don't zoom in and out, but there we go. So has anybody seen the Star Wars movies? Yeah. Okay. You guys know who Darth Vader is? Yeah. There you go, Kelly. So Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker? Yeah. Fewer Luke Skywalker, okay. So this is supposed to be Luke Skywalker chasing Darth Vader around the universe, and then the Millennium Falcon jumping into light speed, those little bright lights. And then I brought this in too. So I designed it so I could be Luke, or I could be Return of the Jedi Luke, or Darth Vader, or this one.
Oh, who's that one?
I call this one Anakin. And then some little thing like that. So, and basically this, the way it's made, I can do any pattern on here that I want. And so that's what's kind of cool about these things, is you can design them to be whatever you want. So if you think something would be cool to do with it, you know, and nobody else has done it yet, you can just make it yourself. Make it and program it yourself. So, so that's all I got. Anybody have any other questions? Yeah.
Do you sell those images online?
Do I sell which?
Do you sell those images online?
The which online?
The image.
The units?
The board?
The
No, the goggles and the...
the goggles.
No, these I only made one of. These so sometimes when you're making a product, like if you make it as a hobby, it might be worth it to you to spend enough money on it to make it the exact way that you want it. But if you want to sell something, you have to be able to make it for cheap enough that you can still sell it and make some money on top of that. So this and this, they'd be too expensive to sell and still make money off of them. But it was worth it to me to make it, so because I don't know, I like it. Yeah. Yes.
You have like motors that make like the skeleton walk or other things?
No, but I will pull up as I'll take the next question here in a minute. But I'll pull up a website. There's a company that makes these, and actually I didn't build this. I bought it from another engineer who makes just the motorized skull, and then I controlled it with my stuff. But there's another company that makes these that does make ones where the arms move and the torso moves, but they're still not able to walk. Being able to walk is a really difficult robotic challenge. So what we take for granted of being able to balance and be able to walk and all that, that's actually really hard for robots to do. So I'll pull up. Let's see. Yes.
If you had any other job you would want to do, how would you support it?
If I had any other job I wanted to work in, how would I support it? How do you mean support it?
Like, how would you, like if you were the boss, what would you do?
If I was the boss, what would I make? I always wanted to make theme park rides. So that's what I would most want to do.
I think you can do more.
How are we doing on time? Okay. Okay. Let me see.
Yeah.
Aren't they on? They are. Oh, it's like this?
Can you see?
Yeah, sort of. The rings are kind of in the way a little bit, but mostly I can see. All right, let's see. All right, I think this video. Okay, kids. So I think this video, it looks like it's going to be the one where he can move his arms. Now, I didn't make this. Oh, thank you. I didn't make this. It's a company that makes it, but in answer to the question, can you have one with arms that move? You can. It's just I haven't done that.
So you've mustered the courage to enter the House of Pain.
Over the years, you and your friends have been warned time and time again of the dangers that lie within. You may think this is a game, but a stirring in your soul tells you you are about to enter a place unlike any other.
I'll give the link to your teachers. You guys can check it out. But so there's an example. You can put motors on the arms and all of that too. It's just that's a little bit more difficult because the arms are a lot heavier than just the head to move. So you need a lot more strength in the motors to be able to do that. So it's a tougher thing to do. Yes.
Could you make his body light up too?
Could I make his body light up? You mean like from within, or?
Like all of it.
Like what?
Like all of his body could like light up.
Well, I tried to light him with this light here to put some light on him, but to actually have his body light up, you'd have to build it so that would be an engineering challenge, right? Because this one right here, it's opaque. You can't have light coming through it, right? But if you built one out of clear material, then you could put lights inside of it and have it light out of there. Yes?
Was this a tough challenge for you?
I've done things like this enough times that it wasn't very difficult. What's actually probably the toughest part of it for me was to do the animation. So every time he moves his head one way or the other, and he moves his jaw or all that, like I have to program all that in to make it look good. And even what you saw here, I would have liked it to be a little bit better, but I ran out of time. So, yes.
Do you have LED lights in the lightsaber and your goggles?
Yep. So just for example, the things I was telling before, how you can get a lot of this stuff from websites now. So these rings right here, these white rings. So this is something that you could just go buy, and the little electronic brain on the side, that you can just buy, and then it's up to you to figure out how you want to wire it up and what you want it to do. But they make these parts that you can put together and make different things. Yeah?
How many animations have you done?
How many animations have I done? Well, with this guy, I've done 2 or 3. And I did some stuff with some other skulls. Maybe a total of 5, something like that. Yes. Did I build the treasure chest or did I buy it? That was kind of half and half. So a lot of times when you want to do something as a hobby, you kind of have to deal with what you can find, right? And I'm not the best at doing all the artistry of making this look like wood and all that kind of thing. But there's a Halloween store that's open all year, and I went there and I found this styrofoam. So this is made of styrofoam, the outside. I found this styrofoam box, and it was really cheap. So I just bought that, pulled it all apart, because I needed it to be stronger than just styrofoam. And so I pulled it all apart, and then I built a frame on the inside of wood to hold all the electronics and the air cylinders and everything like that. So it's kind of half and half. So I use some stuff and then make it my own by make it stronger. Yes?
Have you only programmed skulls?
Have I what?
Have you only programmed skulls?
Have I only programmed skulls? Well, I do programming in a lot of different kind of things. So even these goggles are programmed. But if you're asking about the animation part, let's see. I might only have programmed skulls, but but my friend did there was a movie a long time ago called Stargate, and it was about you kind of like go through this thing and you land in another dimension, another universe or something like that, and there was a big kind of portal that you would walk through, and he built that for Halloween. And he built a bunch of different symbols around it that would light up different colors and all that. And he programmed that using the same software. So you can do a lot of different kinds of things with it. Yeah. Yes?
Who inspired you, or what inspired you to do your job?
So her question was, who inspired me or what inspired me to do my job? Don't know. When I was around your age, I started playing with some electronics, and like I said, I had a Commodore 64, which is like a really old computer, new at the time, and that was easy to get into and play around and program with. And I think that's just wanting to play around and make something and figure something out. That's what I liked to do, and I didn't absolutely decide I wanted to be an engineer until I was almost an engineer. Because even during college, I thought, well, I don't know, I've always liked to play with electronics and program stuff, and so I'll kind of go down this path, and if something else looks better, I'll go down that. But this is where I ended up. Yes. She asked, did I ever get any help from other people, or I do it by myself? So I think what's neat about this kind of stuff is you can always build on what other people have done. So just for example, like my goggles here, these rings, somebody else designed them. So now they're a piece of technology that I can use to make other stuff, right? So I can make these, or by the same LEDs, I can make the lightsaber, right? So it's the same technology making different things. And so, for example, I didn't make the skull. Somebody else designed the skull. And the skull is using those little servo motors. Somebody else designed those. So in a way, we're all building on what other people have already done. So I didn't have somebody, I had somebody help me build the treasure chest a little bit by gluing some things together. But as far as like actually putting this together, not a whole lot of help. But again, you're using parts that somebody else has designed and making them your own and making something out of them, making what you want out of them. Yes? The goggles I'm wearing right now, what? For my design, how do you mean? Just basically what you're looking at. So I've never used these in my day job necessarily, but even some of the lighting control I have used just recently at my new job. Yeah. So it all depends on the task that you have in front of you. So usually as an engineer, usually in any job, you have somebody telling you what you need to do. You got something that you got to get done. And you got to figure out how to do it, and what it is that you have to get done. Usually, you don't have as much choice in that. That's why it's cool to do this stuff as a hobby, because I can make whatever I want. If I want it to be blue, I make it blue. If I want them to say something, I have them say something. That's my voice in the pirate too, by the way. So, yeah, yes. So you guys know those, have you ever seen those phone charger?
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Oh, I have one of those.
So this is actually powering them. So I've just put a USB connector on it, and just plugs right in there. And the way they program the little brain in here, it takes a few seconds till it comes back, but there you go. Yes? So that's something I didn't build into it. So you ask, how do you turn it on, how do you turn it off? I actually didn't put a switch on here to turn it off because I figured I would just pull off the battery when I didn't want to use it. I did put, there's some buttons on here, one right here and one here. And I thought maybe eventually I'll program those to do different sequences, you know, different kind of patterns, but I haven't yet. So they're there, and the only thing that would have to change is I just change the program in it, and then they'd be able to do something different. So I wouldn't have to rebuild any electronics if I want to do a different pattern. I can just reprogram. Yes?
Do you still have a Commodore 64?
I don't. So you asked if I still have a Commodore 64. It never was really mine. It was my dad's. And so was my parents. And I don't know, they probably still have it in their garage somewhere. Yes?
Since you have the lightsaber and the Star Wars goggles, did you like Star Wars when you were little?
Of course. We had different Star Wars movies. You guys getting all new Star Wars movies now.
Do you have any other questions? Oh, one back here.
Yes?
How many things have you built?
How many things have I built? Well, what's a thing? I don't know, lots of stuff. I mean, these, when did I build him? He was probably like 5 years ago or something like that. And these I built a couple of years ago. This I built last year. I built a couple more of these. So one interesting thing. So this thing, this was a regular lightsaber from Disney, and then I ripped out all the guts and I put my own electronics in there. But when I wanted to make a couple new ones, the new lightsaber that I bought just to rip out the stuff, it actually had some electronics in it that when you swing it, it makes noise. And I was able to use those electronics to hook into my electronics so that when I would swing it, it would change the light pattern, which I thought was a lot cooler than this one. And unfortunately, when I went to buy another one, it did different stuff. They changed it and it didn't do that anymore. So I couldn't make another one like that. I think I haven't gotten a question from you yet. Yes?
Can you make the lightsaber purple so you can do
I can't hear you.
Can you like make the lightsaber purple?
Anybody?
Can you make it purple, the lightsaber?
Yes.
Is that
So-
what you're asking? Yes. Yes.
So yeah, the lightsaber, so these, the LEDs in here, each, you can kind of see, so you see how there's little points here, right?
Yeah.
So this is actually 4 strips of LEDs, one on each of the 4, well, not 4 sides, but you know. So each of the LEDs has a red LED, a green LED, and a blue LED all inside of it. And depending on how bright you make each one, you can make any color you want, and any brightness. So I could make them white, so actually you can see, so that there's a white one, right? And you can make any color that you want, and saturation too, so you can make it kind of a light blue, or the deep blue that you see there. Yes?
Because I know that there's a lot of interested kids here, right? This is fascinating. Where would we even go to begin if we wanted to do a little something, you know, as a student? Where would you recommend? What's a store that we could ask maybe if we could go to, or before we start taking apart our parents' things, right? How do you suggest safely we could start to do some of this stuff as a hobby ourselves?
Most of the good resources for that kind of stuff are online, still, not necessarily brick and mortar. There is a cool electronics store that I like to go to in Van Nuys, but really, actually, that one's not bad. They do have some of these kind of things to play with there now too, that they started online, but now we're being sold in that brick and mortar also.
So
But
do you recommend any like beginner kits maybe?
I can email you a list of stuff that would be good to start with. Programming, there are a lot of graphical programming languages now, which basically instead of writing a bunch of text to make a program, there are actually little blocks that you stick together and.
Yes, I think they're doing some coding like that in the classrooms, right?
The hour of code, right?
Yeah, they started the hour of code. this
Oh,
year.
yeah.
And so they're touching upon that stuff now.
Yep, there's a lot of good resources, so I'm sure you've already seen a bunch of those. So Scratch is a good one. For electronics, this is an Arduino clone that you can also program with Scratch. So there are a lot of different kinds of things, and I can give you. I mean, it's enough that it wouldn't be worth it for me to try to rattle them off right
No,
now.
that
But I
sounds
can
good.
email you a bunch of stuff
That sounds
and
good.
talk to teachers. And,
Cool,
yeah.
thank you. Okay, what's your question? Go ahead.
What is your favorite machine that you have made?
My favorite machine that I made, probably this guy. I don't know. He was, it's got a lot of the different technologies that I've learned in my hobby career, as it were. So I kind of like how it all came together. Maybe eventually I'll do some better, smoother programming of how his head moves, but that's what's nice about it. It's versatile. I can do different stuff with it. Yes.
In your lightsaber, do you have a button for each color?
Do I have a what for each color?
A button. A button.
Oh, so he asked for the lightsaber, do I have a button for each color? So the way I programmed this, and this is another one of those things where when you make something like this, you get to decide however you want it to work. So if you want a button for each color, you could do that. The way I did this is I have two buttons. One button is kind of a momentary thing, like do something now. And so when you hold that down in this mode, this is what you get. The other button switches modes. So in this mode, you don't get anything, and then you push the momentary button and you get light. In the next mode, you always get light, and you push the momentary button, and then you see the little star that goes along there. And so you just switch modes again, and now it's green, switch modes again, and it's green, you got the star. So you can program it however you want. So for this one, I only have two buttons, one for mode, and the other one to do some kind of special effect thing. Yes?
Can you make your skeleton rap?
I could make him rap, but I think you'd need your arms for that. Yes.
Could you record the video?
This video?
I think he's going to send us that link so we can share.
Yeah, I'll send that link. And plus, I didn't create that. I'm pretty sure he doesn't use any bad words or anything like that, but obviously it's kind of scary too, so. All right. I'll still let the teachers decide what they want to show for that. Yes? Can I make the pirate voice?
That's a pretty good one.
Well, okay, so the pirate voice is actually my voice, but I also changed it a little bit. What's that? Effects? I put it through a computer program. So let's see. I don't know if I can do it loud though. Arr, I see ye landlubbers looking at me treasure. Look, I, but touch, nay. All right, any other questions? Yeah. There's no pistons in the legs. So you're talking about the air cylinder? So there aren't any pistons in the legs. But, if you attach an air cylinder somewhere down here and had it push right here, you could have the leg open up, right? So that's an example of how you could make it do something that it doesn't do now. And the challenge, of course, like I said, you have to get a lot of power in here. And with a skeleton, you don't have any place to hide that power, right? So if I have a big air cylinder and it's attached to his leg, it's not going to look as much like a skeleton anymore, right? So that's part of the challenge with this kind of thing. So, you know, you could put him down, put an air cylinder down here, and then when the air cylinder opens up, oh, I got my thumb on that. So you see now, when the air cylinder is pushed out, that it would open up, it would push out the leg. So that's a way you could get that to work. Or if you have a really strong motor, you could put it right in his knee joint, but that's a really high stress kind of situation. So, so that's actually a pretty difficult thing to do. And like I showed you on the video there, they sell that guy for a lot of money because he's hard to make. So can be done, but it's just tough. Yes.
Have any of your skeletons had a rap battle with you?
No, they had no rap battles yet. I sense a recurring theme.
Yes, maybe for the poetry slam.
All right, I'll take 3 more questions if anybody has them. Do you have a question?
Yeah. Is that skeleton actually a real one?
He's almost a real one.
Oh my god.
So you know they have. Do you guys have one of these in biology classes or anything? No. So most of the time in some higher biology classes, they'll have a skeleton in there to you know, so you know what the bones look like and all of that. They're usually plastic, not real skeletons, but they're still based off of a real skeleton. And so this is actually one of those that wasn't made very well. And because it wasn't high enough quality, they don't sell it to the schools, they sell it to Halloween people. So, you know, there are, you know, some problems with them, and maybe the joints don't work quite right, so they couldn't sell it to schools, and so instead they sell it to the Halloween people. Yeah. Yes. That his neck is dirty? That it's what? It's darker, yeah. You know why? Because this skeleton came with a different head. And so it was made with a different plastic. And so this plastic doesn't quite match that one for color. So I probably should have painted it to make it match, but I didn't. Yes.
This is something. Do you know how to rap?
Do I know how to rap? I rap in the privacy of my own car. That's it. Sorry. Last question. There's one over here, I think, in the back. No? Do you have one? Yeah. What's up?
I think we answered that already. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take a different question. Do we have one over here?
Christopher, you.
Yes.
What is the vest made out of?
The vest is made out of some kind of rubbery leather something thing. My mom actually made it for him, and she thought he needed the vest, so we put the vest on him, and I think it looks cool. You know, it goes with his bandana and everything, makes him a little bit more piratey.
Wonderful. Well, what do we say? That was fantastic. We can. If you're up for it, we can.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Would you guys like to just take a peek inside his chest?
Yeah!
Now remember, you designed this for Maker Faire. Wait a minute. No. Sit down. Have a seat. He designed this to show off the piece that he made.
Boys and girls, do we touch anything?
No.
Absolutely not. Just
Okay, so we're going to do this class at a time.
Puedo ver.
You can stand up here, put your hands behind your back, and just take a peek inside. And and then you're gonna rotate somehow out of the doors and have a fabulous weekend. Make sure you say thank you when you come on by, okay? Don't touch hands behind your back. And we'll start with whose class?
Mine is fun.
This is
Stand up.
Jason's class, so stand up.
Freeze. I'm gonna take him this way.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
Okay, get your back.